And we're live for another episode of Inside the Courtyard. This is going to be another episode of understanding the Chinese political system, and we are going to talk about some the particular features and the structure of this system and how it differs from, I guess, Western governments in general. The setup is quite unique. We refer to it as a party state, and and I think this is where we can start explaining what that actually means. Um, and basically it's this not separation but a kind of like a dual track system of the state as doing more administrative roles and the party doing more quote unquote political roles. um and uh and yeah, Alex.
Yeah, sure. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's a dual track, yeah, but if we really want to be specific and get into the details, it's more of a triple track. So you need to distinguish between the state, the government, and of course the party. You can make the case that all of this is just one thing, but it actually is not. So the party focuses more on like political and of course ideological work. The state focuses more on administration through the state council, ministry, and commissions, and the government is more geographical management. So cities, counties, provincial government, stuff like that. It doesn't mean that because one structure exists that it is not in contact or does not communicate with others. But there's one thing you absolutely need to remember about all of this, especially when we talk about the state, so the structure of ministries and stuff like this, that these are a very opaque system within their own ministries, and sometimes subunits are also not really responding or communicating with others. So it creates some kind of, let's say, small bricks within another system. And then that, let's say, ministry is part of a different system and stuff like this. So communication and organization and also, let's say, coordination is extremely complicated even between the state, the government, and the party. So these are distinctions that are fundamental to understand when you dive in what we call the party state apparatus, because the government is not totally the state, and the party is not necessarily the government and the state. So, and if we talk about a party player versus a government player or a politician, it's not exactly the same thing. And you have like technocrats and other types of bureaucrats, like career patterns and stuff like this. So people have a very, let's say, divided workload, and the party is actually pretty good at that too. So separating units and creating distinction between who does what, when, and where, and what kind of unit is performing certain tasks, even though there might be a lot of overlaps, and sometimes issues when attributing fiscal envelopes or implementing policies.
Yeah, and a good example, I think. So a lot of these, I mean, since I guess even prior to establishing the People's Republic, that the party itself had set up, its own party organizations, and these institutions and organizations have, grown organically and have evolved over time, and consolidation of political power within certain pockets of this wider system have made it so that sometimes certain ministries or party organs are kind of obsolete in the sense of administrative tasks, but still exist because there is factional power or political power to be held there. Best example is, I don't know if you would agree, but like the NDRC, National Development and Reform Commission, which was created for, as the name implies, rolling out reforms for the entire country. But in this day and age, when the economy and the wider kind of socio-political, socio-economic landscapes are so complicated and diversified, one commission cannot carry out all the things that need to be done. So, perhaps the Ministry of Commerce should be handling foreign trade. The PBOC, the central bank, should be doing monetary matters. but the NDRC still kind of maintains a grip on all these matters, and because of this, I mean, because of the amount of political clout it gained, especially during the reform era, it's it refuses to relinquish this power.
Yeah, but there's also, I think one of the good example, another good example would be, let's say the recent reestablishment of the National Energy Commission. At first, this is just a governing body. Some people think it's really making decisions and stuff, but that's actually not the case. It was supposed to be really separated from the NDRC or the Five Guy Way, but in reality, it became kind of really closely associated to it. And even the National Energy Administration or Bureau, depending on which translation you prefer, was also supposed to be its own administration, its own thing, but it became kind of subjugated by the NDRC because, again, fiscal allocation and stuff like this. So you have a lot of redundancy in the system, especially because of the NDRC, but of a variety of other institutions that are still having the same responsibilities and are fighting over the same fiscal allocations to actually do certain tasks. But in reality, the system has to be streamlined, like should be streamlined dramatically to avoid all of these gray areas that like no one knows who's supposed to do what or who has jurisdiction over what, and certain technicalities, because the system is really about technicalities, and these are really important technicalities sometimes.
I think this is I guess we can move on to kind of more I think what people are interested in is the structure by which an individual, a party cadre, moves up within the system, right? And there are well, I mean, I guess in our research we discovered there are promotional patterns. Has that been raised by any other academic before, or was that primarily us?
It depends, because we all have a different take on career patterns and how they're supposed to be measured. But the way we measure is actually very unique, because I took the long road in measuring from start up until like their arrival in central committee or up until the end of their career to measure the promotion speed and promotion patterns across thousands of cadres, versus, let's say, the more mainstream approach, which is measuring already Politburo members or ministers or our provincial party secretaries. So they usually focus on these very specific samples, which is good, very easy, because there's just a few people here and there, like 60 people, like no big deal. Like I can give you like whatever you like on these 60 people, but to really see what they're doing, where they're going, and how they're going in terms of speed, or how they are rotated around provinces, cities, or different kind of functions, you need to look at it from a wider perspective and look at prefectural cadres, how they're moving, and like what's their promotion speed, and then when they're demoted in structure. Because like you can hear or you can read about it a little sometimes, but if you measure it really, you're able to see a much clearer picture of what people are doing and how they are being promoted. So when people say, "Oh, Xi Jinping is trying to hold people down like at a certain level so they gain more experience," and I was reviewing an article on that a few months back, and I was like, "No, that's absolutely not correct." Because if I gave you like my sample from like 3,000, like first you come at me with no data, so I was like, "Bro, like you really want to die on this paper? Like this is where you decided that this would end." So it's like, okay, like my N3000, if I look at 3,000 cadres of the same level he's talking about, this is not true. Like I can statistically prove that this is not correct. So through database and these, let's say this overall view, this more global view, we can definitely measure it in a very specific and a very unique way that I don't think others are doing. Some are trying. But I mean, you need to put in the work and the massive amount of time it requires to like dig in 10,000, 12,000 names, categorize them, put the dates, all all these kinds of things next to the name and gender, nationality, stuff like this. It's very complicated. It's very long. So that's why usually people focus on the main sample area, Politburo, ministers, provincial party secretaries, or a few party players here and there, but they don't go all the way down like we do. That's maybe the main difference.
Yeah, these academics are pussies.
Well, I mean, that's not what I would say. It's just they're lazy. They're lazy as hell.
Yeah, and they don't have an output.
No, and from my understanding and observation, because like I said, I still review papers from time to time for academic journals. Like some of them even have issues with doing simple subtraction. So I mean, like you just need to like take the date and deduce it. Like just do minus something, and even that they managed to fuck it up. So it's like I told the editors like, yeah, like I'm supposed to agree with that, but like no, because that the mistake is so simple here that like I don't want to read more. Like this is where I stopped reading. Like this was so bad. Like I stopped at that page on that line. Like if subtraction, if doing that is too much for you, maybe do something else. Because like that was like, oh man. And this also leads me to like how people categorize positioning. And he was like, oh yeah, you reached that position, like let's say deputy provincial level at that age. And I was like, no, like look, I have the sheet right there. That's public information, and it's clearly listed right here that he got it the year before or the year after. It's like, yeah, but what's 1 year? It matters a lot.
It matters
when
a lot.
You're competing with hundreds of thousands of people to reach certain key position. 1 year, just one might make even sometimes half a year might make a huge difference in terms of promotability and terminability in the system.
So okay, now let's quickly explain what we mean by a provincial level position, deputy provincial, and usually we look at for our purposes, right? We usually look at the top 5. So that's national, deputy national, provincial, or provincial, deputy provincial, and city. Right.
I mean, I go lower. I go like it's prefecture, it's bureau prefecture, deputy bureau prefecture, county, deputy county. Sometimes, for some cases, I will go all the way down to what's it called? I think Keyuan would be like clerk level, I guess.
Bro,
I think we could agree on clerk, right? Clerk level.
Fair. I mean,
something like that. I mean, yeah, whatever. Like, bro, he's 正科级, massive. He's massive. Like,
okay, but when I was collecting data for you, I remember we only did the top 5.
No. Yeah, because for some cadres, it's not relevant to go further.
Yeah.
But if you look at people born, let's say, in the 80s, like, they haven't done much. So you need to go back further in. Wow, I mean, like, if you've reached prefecture level in the 80s, you're an absolute monster. Like, you are the future of the party. Like, you're a star. So, like, but again, you've reached only that. So I need to go further in time. I need to see back in time, like, what you've done before to make sense of where you're going.
So, okay, before we move forward, you have to explain to people what the ranks and positions are within how they work within the wider system, because these ranks are very important in understanding how this entire structure functions at the individual level.
Sure. How to go about that?
Yeah, they're called administrative ranks. Let's put it. Let's move. They're administrative ranks, and I guess each title that you hold corresponds to a certain rank. Okay, so if you're Xi Jinping, you're
okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Well, of course, all the titles have a dual writing. So they have like the political writing on the side, and they also have the administrative writing. So if you are Sheng Buji, so you're like provincial and minister level. So it's just to say that if you are a minister, it's on the same ranking as a provincial officer, provincial head. So governor, party secretary, minister, and sometime in some cases, if it's not the same person, the party secretary or the party group secretary of a certain ministry. That said, positions are not always equal, or let's say it this way, like some are more equal than others. So if you are the party secretary of something, you usually have a slight advantage over the person who's just the regular head. Like let's say that this party secretary, provincial party secretary, is definitely more important than the governor. And sometime in some cases, the deputy party secretary might be as important as the governor in some cases. So you need to look at the type of position the person is holding to equate a certain ranking. So if you're governor, you are on the governor level. If you're deputy governor, deputy. But if you hold different positions, sometimes you can just be, let's say we usually go about this. When I used to teach this, about how to count backwards. So if you start at 1, which is the national level, the main national level, that's 1. So if you go back, that's deputy, that's number 2. Go back 1 more, you're on the provincial ministerial level, and then if you go down 1 more, that's 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You always try to go down like this. And for, let's say, if, let's say, you are on the ministerial level, so that's 3, or provincial, but you're only on the standing committee of a province, that's 3 minus 1, so that's 4, because we count backwards. So you would be a 4 if you are just on the standing committee. If you're not on the standing committee, but you are, let's say, just a deputy is the same, so that would be just 3 minus 1, that's 4. So deputy governor and someone on the standing committee, being, let's say, the head of the provincial party school, would be on somewhat equal ranking. To be fair, party position usually trumps regular political position, but it really depends on case and on the individual. And the same would be true for the prefecture level. And if you're responsible for an office for a province, that's usually, and we usually keep it at province because it's the easiest one to count from. So that would be 3 minus 2. So that's 5. So someone that would be, let's say, maybe let's say just representative of the NDRC for a province would be on the same ranking as someone that's a mayor of a prefectural city. Which does it make sense for you?
Yep, it makes sense for me. Okay,
yeah. For you, it makes sense. Yeah, for you, it makes sense.
I mean, like that's as best as you can explain it, right? Again, as we explained in our first ever episode, that like these systems are foreign and strange. So if you feel uncomfortable dealing with these concepts, that's normal. This is not something. This is not going to be something you're used to unless you've studied it and researched it for quite some time. But I mean, we can move forward, right? Because now there is sort of a ceiling or a hard deadline for you if you want to climb this system, right? And and this is, and okay, this is going to be applied as a general rule. There are exceptions to this rule, like there are exceptions to just every fucking rule anywhere. But the general rule is something called the 七上八下 rule. That's the
ultimate rule.
That's the ultimate rule. And what this in English, it translates to 7 up, 8 down. And
with the least amount of words, yes. that's 7 up. Yeah, the 7 up, 8 down. Yeah.
So this is an age criteria.
Yeah.
And go into it.
Yeah, you massively dropped the ball there, pal. Anyway,
I could have gone on to explain it, but I thought
because that's an easy one. That's the easiest one to explain.
I know, but if I keep explaining, I'll have to stop and let you explain other shit. So you might as well just.
That's very fair. Anyway, the 7 8 the 7 up 8 down. Okay, of course, as you said, it's not necessarily a rule, but more of an informal norm that people ought to respect to a certain degree. So when you reach a certain level, especially when you're at the Politburo level, or sometimes the ministers that want to climb up, or provincial government that want to climb up to the Politburo, need to be below 67 or around 67. If at 67 you're still considered deputy national material, like you can still be promoted one more time. And the same goes that if you're in the Politburo and you're 67, you can still be eligible for the standing committee.
Wait,
Doesn't mean
hold on. Just
yeah.
one thing. Each promotion round lasts approximately, on average, if I remember from the research back in the day, it's about 5 years, right? Each tenure is about 5 years.
It should be around 5, yes.
Right.
And when you reach a certain level in the hierarchy, things tend to stabilize around 5. But the minimal amount of time that we expect you to be on a position is 2 years before you're being re-promoted. Excellent cadres will be re-promoted sometimes as fast as like 14, 15 months, 2 years, but it doesn't look very good. Depending on who it is, it might not look very good because people are waiting sometime and they're performing well and they're not being promoted. So you need to be careful when you make people sprint or you pull them too fast to other positions because you create resentment inside the structure. So it's between 2 and 5. 5 is an ideal tenure. Like 5 years is pretty good. It's a complete tenure. 2 years is an accelerated tenure. It means that you're needed somewhere else, or that people want to keep you on the side to promote you fast because you'll serve other purposes later down the line.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. So again, if you're
Yeah.
promoted at 67, the next tenure is going to be from 67 to 72. Okay.
Yeah, but again, they don't need to promote you. Like usually, when you reach a Politburo level, like it's kind of I don't like to say a given, but usually people are re-promoted because it's kind of, I mean, at this point, like even being in the standing committee, it can be irrelevant depending on who you are. It can just be a way to put you aside and remove or take away some functions from you, some responsibilities, just like they did to Han Zheng when they removed him from Shanghai and they promoted him to the, the standing committee. That wasn't really a promotion, kind of, because they really wanted to free the Shanghai position. Because when you're Cheng Wei, when you're Cheng Wei, you're not allowed to have these kinds of positions.
Yeah, but now we're talking about like political and factional strategy, which we can
sure. Well, we're not diving there, but I'm just saying. Usually, people are being promoted at 67. It's kind of a given that if you're already there, they will just re-promote you. But it really depends on how the leader feels. So it's not because you're 67 that you will be re-promoted. But usually, when you reach a certain level, it's kind of automatic that you will continue.
But if you're 68, you're fucked. Most of the time.
Most of the time, if you're 68, they will ask you to go away.
Or if you go past 67 in your, like, before your current tenure is up, right? So if you're like 66 and you're pretty much done, right? And you're not going to be up for promotion. Like you don't fall within the timeline.
That's a close call. It really depends on. At some point, it's going to be like, were you born before the plenum or after the plenum? It's gonna go down to months afterwards.
Yeah.
To see if people are promotable at a certain time. So the 7 up, 8 down might go down like as a massive competition, like very fierce. Some people will actually change their date of birth just to be promotable just a little bit longer. I've seen some dates change over the years, like just tossing the month, like, oh yeah, and I was born in December, then January is like, oh, come on.
But okay, let's say you're 66. Okay, no, let's push it even further. You're 67 and you just got appointed to a governor position this year.
No, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Yeah,
that's not happening because again, you would need to. Oh man, I mean, it could.
Yes. There's always exceptions.
Like, but general rule is like, no, it's not happening. And to be fair, you wouldn't be appointed at 67 to these kinds of positions because they need some leeway. Usually because the plateau for like governorship, it's around 65. So people sometimes will be promoted at 64, but then they're not there for the long run. They're there as a placeholder because you need to be able to stay for a certain time because institutional memory is key for governing. So if you make people move around, like if you just reshuffle all the time, you're going to create chaos. So if you're promoted around that time, that's not very good. Usually people like the youngest one in province for governor and party secretary will be promoted around like 56, 57, 58, that's awesome. That's like massively good. Otherwise, maybe around 60, 61. So you get just around the right amount of time to get a full tenure in. And if we know that we don't care about you, or you won't serve a purpose later down the line, maybe you'll be promoted around 63 or 64. Because again, you're just a placeholder until we find someone better.
So, given what we know about these kind of age criteria and how long each tenure is, we can work backwards and then start basically identifying and understanding the entire career trajectory of not only existing cadres, but then apply this model to up and coming cadres. And this is kind of how we operate in terms of research.
Yeah.
Do for
And you can also if you're looking sometimes what we do is good because like let's say of course it's good of course, but like what I mean is like the way I trace back the career patterns is pretty good because you can actually pinpoint in time where their career started to just like drastically move in terms of pace, like around when, and then you can just look where they used to work, and then if you're lucky enough, you can sometimes find who their mentor was or the initial instigator, like who supported them to begin with. When did that exactly start? Like, what's the key promotion? Or sometimes you can measure if certain variables will help you be promoted faster. Like, for example, if you're part of mass organization, like the the communist youth, or let's say I always forget the others because I don't pay attention to them. I'm not close enough. But yeah, if you're part of these like mass organization, maybe you'll get promoted faster, which is true. So you need to look at all these criteria, all these factors, like from what moment in time the career start to just like boom towards the prefecture level or provincial or deputy provincial. And the key, for those of you who are really interested in all the dryness of the thing, key positions to get in time are prefecture and the ministerial provincial rank. If you miss that up, your chances of getting higher are very bad, like almost close to zero. Like you need to get there in time. Like you need to be a mayor or a party secretary for a city, or or something of that nature. So, let's say it could also be like a deputy party secretary for a sub-provincial city. But on average, it's not really that. It's really about the prefecture versus ministry or province. So if you can reach both of these two in time, like you're really an excellent cadre.
Yeah. And again, we'll probably do a separate episode just on like factions and kind of the factional struggle, but just to mind fuck y'all a little bit more, like different factions have their own channels of promotion. So if you're somebody and you belong to a certain faction and they really like you, they'll kind of fast track you through things like what you just mentioned, the Communist Youth League. That's a perfect example, right? They have their own promotional channels and they funnel I guess good candidates through there so they can bypass some of their peers, right? And it's and even sometimes different factions will control, I guess, different jurisdictions within China, if you will.
Well, I mean, now, like I mean, a few years ago, you'd be absolutely right.
All right,
Yen Bien used to be like a key hotbed for promotion because everybody wanted to go to Yen Bien. Although to be fair, like I mean, we won't dive into Yen Bien because like that in itself is like just just a bit much, like where dollars are where fake dollars are exchanged, where prostitution is key and rules. Like we're not gonna dive there, but like people used to fight to get appointed to Yen Bien like a few years ago. But yeah, again, a few years ago that would be true because you had all the provincial cliques or sometimes even sub-provincial cliques, and you can see people rising through the ranks from certain cliques or certain sub-regions of a province. And you can also see or measure, let's say, factional struggle between intra-provincial cliques, like from Dalian and Shenyang. You can see people competing to get the supremacy over the province and then get appointed to, let's say, the standing committee or a deputy governor and stuff like this. So yeah, you'll definitely see. But now it's more of a sectorial thing. Although Zhou Yongkang, like the oil king with Deng Xinghong, they kind of like fuck that shit up for everyone. But you can see, well, I mean, yeah, kind of. But you can still see a lot of the people merging from the SOEs back in the party state structure. You'll see a lot of that now. The CCYL or the Communist Youth League, you'll still see it today, a little bit less. Shanghai is still good, but like right now they're being hammered hard by the allies of Xi Jinping. So might not be what you want to look at right now. Otherwise, you'll see what we call local elites rising in places like Guangxi, for example, Gansu, Guizhou. You'll see people rising through the ranks, but they're local elites. They're not necessarily part of a huge faction. Cohesion-wise, not very great, but they have more affinities with, let's say, great commissions or the National People Congress and stuff like this. So you'll see it still, but less than what it used to be.
Yeah. Okay. On the topic of promotions, let's move on to your favorite topic.
Oh my God!
The quote unquote sprint with small steps.
Oh no. Oh. And like I always give credit for this expression to Ko Jian-wen. Like I've never like tried to take it on me. Like this is because I just loved how clever it was sprinting with small step, because it depicts the reality of promotion so well. Because you need to have a constant pace in the system to reach certain position at a certain time. It looks like you're sprinting, but it's painfully slow. But it's just, but at the same time, you need to remain focused on track, because most people will die. When I say die, I mean they will be demoted or they'll be terminated before they reach the prefecture level, or in the limbo that is the deputy provincial position, because usually that's the last testing ground that people will look for. So if you spend, let's say, more than like 5 or 6 years there, like your career, like it's not looking good. Although to be fair, usually people get stuck there for 8 up until like, let's say, up to like 10 years. Sometimes it's gonna happen, especially people who have sprinted too fast before. But you don't want to stay there too long. Like 5, 6, 7 years is good. 10 years, it's very long. It means that your chances are you're not going anywhere. It depends, but it doesn't look good for you, because this is where you need to stand out from your peers. But sprinting with small step simply means that you need to be promoted at a certain pace in order to climb through all the ranks that leads to the provincial level. This is what it means. And it is a sprint, because every advantage matters. A month, a year, half a year, all of that at some point will matter. Just like my friend who's sometimes counting calories, it all matters. At the end of the day, they all matter. And technically speaking, he's right. So that's the same thing from cadre here. And if you, let's say, lose your footing, so if you get sidetracked for a little bit too long, then then this drags on all the way to let's say wherever you may end up. But like this will be dragged. You can never really get back the wasted time or the lost time, unless you're factionally pulled by people. But again, that's a different story. But for that's overwhelming, because that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, because if people are dragging their feet, it means they're not performing well. And if you pull people, or if you promote people that are not performing well, this will reflect bad on you at some point, because it's all on you. So if I'm turning around and say like, who promoted that guy? Yeah, you did. Yeah, oh shit. That's all on me. That's all on me then.
The best way to explain it, I guess, is number one, it's a very cutthroat system. Number two, any mistakes or any good moves you make, they're amplified in the long run. So it's a very tricky game to play, and it's a very difficult game to play. And I think I remember in class you said something like, because we there's a perception that China is corrupt, and to be fair, in large part it is, but these kind of nepotism or kind of like corrupt kind of moves by like where you say where you're promoting incompetent people, that only gets you so far before your incompetency will just end your career and you'll just be stuck. Like that only gets you so far, but if in the end you're not competent to a certain threshold, like you're not moving up.
You're not moving up, or and we won't name names, but sometimes like promotions are only paying back some. It's just a way to pay back some debts. Sometimes that's the case, and Xi Jinping has done that. But it was, I don't like to use the word smart. Anyway, he was, let's say, clever enough to know that some of the people that he promoted back in 2017 were not super competent, and that's why like he promoted them in some places. Again, I'm not naming any names, so it's going to be a bit vague. Anyway, so you put them at some places that they cannot do much, and that the overall system that they govern is is let's say governed by someone else to make sure that you don't fuck up. But in reality, you cannot do damage nor do good. You're just there as a repayment of debt.
Bro, it's like
It happens sometimes.
it's like the deep state.
It is the deep state, but but I would say at least he was clever enough to make sure that somebody else was doing the job and not that person.
And also, I think a key point to remember here is that, again, contrary to what mainstream, especially Western news outlets and pundits and journals say, um, it's not an like Xi Jinping is not an emperor. He doesn't issue edicts, and he can't dictate everything that goes on. He can dictate to a pretty good degree. Like he's got a pretty good pull, but a lot of the decisions that you see, like especially, and again, Western press sources rarely report kind of internal promotions within China, but these promotions are made on the back of extensive negotiation between
And
the
very painful compromises.
between the ruling, well, I guess the ruling faction and other factions, right? Because you can't strong arm your way. It's not this is the key difference between now and the Mao era, is that institutionalization has set in so that, one, it prevents rogue behavior and just overall system collapse, but as a part of the trade-off is you have to negotiate with the other players in this game, and that's a key.
Yeah, otherwise you will still have like you have grave diggers running around you just waiting for you to step in the hole, and that's not very good, because like it means that you'll be anxious of doing anything, and you'll always be insecure, and that's not a way to govern. So people think like, oh, he's all powerful, whatever he say goes. But again, he evolved in the system, and he understands how it works, and he knows that if he does that, and to be fair, he could, if he wanted to, he could, but policy distortions dictate that whatever you say in Beijing will probably not be implemented as such in the provinces, prefecture level, counties. It's not gonna work. So you need to negotiate. The key term I used to mention was like flexibility. So you can appear all powerful, but you have to know that people are not going to be in tune with that. And you can enforce it as much as you please. It's just going to create more distortion. And at some point, just like it happened when Hu Jintao tried to close the coal mines, people are just stop saying and helping you. Like they're just not going to say where the mines are anymore. Just like, okay, here's the map, find them. Like, we don't know where they are anymore. Like, oh, we just that's the new map updated. Sites have been removed. I mean, we potentially close them, but we don't know. We don't know where they are. And then, like, let's say you're an inspection team from Beijing. Like, good luck finding them in Shanxi. Like, good luck, man. Without like let's say a local guide, which is the government, the prefectural government or county government or township government, you're never gonna find this. You're never going to find these illegal mines. And that's the same thing. The same reflection applies to now. You can do that if you want, but in reality, the more you push unilateralism from the part of Beijing, the more you'll have resistance from the lower echelons. And provincial government is as strong as a township level or a county, because it needs to be sure that when it collects information, everybody provides information or the correct information. And that's something that's very difficult. So if the provincial level starts to do massive goal displacement on township, or sometime like on the twin levels, the villages, villages, I guess, or the rural villages, yeah, it's just gonna backfire in the end. So it's a very, like, if it's a stratego game, like this is really like a 7-dimension plane of trying to make everybody happy, not piss off too many people that actually have access to the empirical data that you need to inform the policy making process. And in turn, you need these people also for policy implementation. So the more you fuck with them, the less chances you have that this is going to be implemented properly.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned this before too. Like the upsides for winning a factional struggle is immense. The downsides of losing, oh man, it's rough.
Oh, they're critical. They're absolutely critical. That's why once you start, you can't back down. Just like eating people as a warlord. But like we said, like once you start eating people, there's no going back. There's no going back,
bro.
this is the same. This is a great image because it's exactly what it is. If you show weakness,
I got a better image for you, bro.
You got a what?
I got a better image for you, bro.
Dude, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Our Nokia positions.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. I guess we won't back down.
No backing down.
No. So yeah, I had a conversation with a student yesterday, like I told you, and we talked briefly and we touched some of these things. And she asked me like, oh, but where can we learn that? I was like, no, you cannot learn that. Like this is something that you kind of know or you learn by yourself, because like nobody's going to teach you that in a class. Although I did, and I think nobody I think nobody actually appreciated how important these informations were at the time.
I did.
Yeah, that's very fair. You did. But most people actually zoned out. It was like, yeah, I know it's dry, but if you understand that, you can grasp the technicalities of the Chinese state apparatus that you will never see otherwise. Because ranking is everything. People are always fight about ranking. They will try to rank you as a foreigner if you work for a certain government or a certain ministry or a company. They will try to see where you rank, to see like what kind of attitude they should like, or what kind of decorum they should have, just to gauge you. Like, okay, should I respect you to a certain degree or not? Should I disregard you? So it's a game to a certain degree. Like it's a game of ranking. That's why it's important, and that's why I believe that our government is massively failing because it doesn't understand that, and doesn't understand how to behave with a foreign ministry official, because most of the time they're kind of irrelevant, but we give them so much more props than we should. And I was like, I don't know why you negotiate with them. You're wasting your time. Absolutely wasting your time.
Oh, no. Like ambassadors, like Chinese ambassadors, worthless.
Yeah.
Pointless.
It depends who and it depends which one, but most of the time, some of them, are not even party members.
I mean, okay, like aside from the
some of them are not.
Aside from the Washington guy, the rest are probably pretty fucking useless.
Yeah, because they don't have leeways to do anything. No, but I mean, they don't. So, and to be fair, if you want to use them as a communication channel, it's going to be so distorted that, again, you are wasting your time. You might as well call the Global Times and just dictate what you want to say. It's going to be, I think that would be even better, because at least the message would be verbatim. I think that would be best. Like, honestly, I think it would be better. That's my opinion.
Bro, like, you might as well talk to the head of, like, ICBC or, like, China Construction Bank. That's going to get you way more.
Especially the construction bank. Especially the construction bank. Especially this one.
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, like, there's so much more to say on the hierarchy and how units are structured and how they form functional integrated system within the party state, how they compete for budget, how they compete for policy implementation, because, they always want to look good. And then if you go down one notch below, you have these provincial units that are mirroring ministries. So you have like, the Bureau of Water Resources in the provinces. So Again, for fiscal purposes, should I listen to my ministry or should I listen to the government? Government has the information. The ministry potentially has the money. Who rules over what? There are dual lines of leadership across the board, which create chaos in the end in terms of policy implementation and, of course, integration of decision making. That's like it's so chaotic because you're never sure of who you should listen to, or you should abide by both. But if they give you contradictory, let's say, or they issue contradictory orders or decisions, like, then what do you do? And this is something that people might not realize sometimes, how difficult it must be to evolve in this kind of structure. And also to think that a lot of cadres are there to actually serve as public servants. They're not all ill-intended. Like, that's something that like most of them, I think, get defeated by the system at some point. I think that's the thing. I think when you've been in there for so long, you just get defeated by the sheer, let's say, massiveness of technicalities and sometimes incompetency,
Bro,
or like all of this combined. I feel it must be so, like, you want to help so much, but you get defeated by the system so much.
Bro, again, case in point, the shape and color of stamps. For anyone going to China, this is very important. Pay attention to the color and the shape of the stamps that are used to stamp documents. Fuck this up, and you could delay your shit for God knows how long.
And God forbid you lack one. God forbid.
Bro, if
Like,
yeah.
Oh, but this document hasn't been stamped. It's like, I looked at her like I don't care. Like, this will always stick with me. Like, closing the bank account is like, this wasn't stamped last time. Like, you remember that last time was like 3 years ago, right? And I don't want the money in the account. I just want you to close it so you can stop harassing, like, my stepmom on the phone. It's like, don't call, just close the account, just shush. We can't. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You can't. If
you're a foreigner, go to China and try to set up a bank account, and then tweet us or email us your experience.
Oh, bro, add us hard.
Wait. Tell us how many people had to show up to the same counter to shit, and how long and how many documents this took.
But whoa.
Exact duration of time, when you got there, when the negotiation started, and when it concluded, and ultimately whether or not you were successful.
Wait. Also, one more thing. How many times they photocopied your passport? Please just end. For those of you who are very adventurous, like, I dare you to go to a only Chinese speaking branch. So not downtown Beijing, not downtown Shanghai, Guangzhou. No. Go like I opened my account in the street branch. Bro, it was biblical. It took us, I think, like 4 hours.
Bro, it took me when I went to Beijing.
Oh my god.
It took me. I was at a Bank of China, okay, central Beijing.
Yeah. I was BOC too. Yeah, I was BOC.
Yeah, central Beijing, right outside of Peking University. So it's not like this is fucking no foreigners around. Bro, that shit took me probably 5 hours, and I was speaking Chinese.
Oh yeah, bro. Oh man.
Bro, the clerk was so defeated by the end, and I was like, "You're defeated? Like, bro, you fucking, god damn it!"
It's like, and then you wonder why people keep their money at home. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is one of the like, to be fair, and maybe we'll get back to that story one day. That the time I was like taken away was actually not as bad as that. Because, like, the taken away thing was like, okay, it's not, whatever. I just bribed myself out. But that thing was like, even if I wanted, like, it's so public, I cannot just bribe my way into opening a bank account. It's like, come on, like, that would have been so much easier.
Bro, there's nothing you can do to expedite this process.
No, I know. Even going to the hospital was easier, and getting my hospital card was so much faster than that. I always remember. I was like, they weren't interested in anything. They just write your name. I was like, here you go, bro. Just write my name. Here you go.
Oh,
good.
Man.
But this was just bad. Oh. I think that might have changed, but I was about to say exchanging money. Ooh.
That's less complicated now.
But I remember back in 08, it was kind of a big deal. And they were, I don't think they do this anymore, but like I remember, oh man, they used to measure the currency because it was Canadian dollars. So they used to measure the bills. And because,
Serious?
Yeah, I got rejected. Like the 50, they wouldn't take the 50s, they wouldn't take the 10s, the 20s, and like God forbid you show them coins. Man, the confusion in that place, like whoa, coins, woo. Anyway, but yeah, they used to measure because I remember they started phasing out the paper money at the time, and we had like this new plasticky thing, and no, anyway, like some batches are cut not exactly straight, like
Yeah.
because like, I've seen them. It's like, bro, that's still $100. Like, come on. And she was like, oh, but yeah, look, it's kind of fuzzy here. It's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? That's like, oh no, we cannot take this one. It's like, oh, you fuck.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, I got rejected like a few hundred. Bro, I needed all them RMBs, bro, and I had to buy some massive booze. And then I was like, man, like thousands of RMBs stayed on the table. I was like, I can't get it. Fortunately, the scalper on the street took them. So I was like, this.
I remember one time I went out drinking, and then my friend went to, I remember distinctively, okay, an Agricultural Bank of China ATM. He withdrew 400 RMB. All 4 100 bills were fake.
Oh, that's sad, because even when I used to trade with scalpers, I never had fake bills.
Bro, the fact that it was spat out by a fucking ATM, man, like, oh, it's rough. And you wonder why Alipay is so big. Yeah, it's because you can't fucking,
Because people who go now, they will. I don't think they will experience like what I'm talking about, like the scalpers, like the guy on the moped next to the counter who has like the big fanny pack with all kind of currencies in there. I was like, bro, I need them quiche. And he was like, bro, how much quiche you need? I was like, bro, I have some sweet Canadian quiche. And to be fair, that guy is actually, but I mean, he was cool. But I assume they're not all cool. But like this guy was cool because he was actually filling out contracts for families who were sending their kids overseas. So like his prerogative was to get certain type of currency. So when he saw me, he's like, "Do you have that kind?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what I have. Like, I'm willing to give you equal price." But I was like, "Hey, man, bro, I'm good. Just give me the quiche."
That's like the lowest form of evading foreign exchange controls in China.
I know, but at the time, I had to fill like 5 or 6 forms plus wait to get money from like the bank and an exchange. I was like, bro, that guy doesn't care. Like, he doesn't need to see my passport again. Like, he just like, bro, do you have quiche? I have quiche. Do you want renminbi? I want renminbi. We're good. Like, we're good. We're good.
We definitely got to do an episode just on fucking stories from living in China. There's too many.
Oh man, there's so many things. There's things we were not allowed to say because they will make us look very bad. But just like the time we got in that car that was with no license plate.
This happened more than once, bro.
Like I'm gonna take you there. Like okay, man. Like okay, and right in the middle of nowhere, like okay, I'm gonna take you there. Rules of engagement, like bro, we choke him out. Choke him out. Oh, it was good, and all of that just to get like one interview, and it was crap. I remember most of them were crap that time anyway. So we actually put ourselves in kind of danger for absolutely nothing.
Bro, there was no danger. Bro, that dude was like 150 pounds soaking wet. Come on.
That guy was in danger. That guy, when I don't think he realized what kind of damage he could be looking at when he had us in the back seat.
Bro,
oh my god. And I don't remember where it was though. Yeah, I don't remember.
We'll do a separate episode on field work.
That's fair. You have anything else to raise on this particular?
No, I think that's it. That's it for this.
So we're gonna, So the next episode will be in a few days for the recap of the month, I guess, right?
Yeah, for the second half of January, I guess.
That's good.
All right.
That's good. Okay.
That's it. Goodbye, everyone.
Yep.